All right, Van is here. This year will be the 25th anniversary of Titanic, much later in the year, and I'm sure there's going to be some Titanic stuff coming. It was the iconic movie of an entire generation. Um, there's a whole generation of people that fell in love with either Leo or Kate. There is a whole generation older than that who remembers reading about this movie for months and months and months that it was going to be a disaster, that this was going to be even worse than Waterworld. This was going to end people's careers. They had to move it. It was supposed to come out in the summer. They moved it back. Everybody was kind of waiting because nobody loves anything more in Hollywood than an expensive disaster. But much like The Godfather, this did not become a disaster. This has become the definition of a rewatchable movie. You can jump in halfway through and it's like, oh, the boat's about to sink?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll ride with this for an hour. Did you ever expect a disaster movie to be this rewatchable, Van?
No, hell no. And this movie was part of my education in the machinations of Hollywood because, like, to your point, all the buzz was bad. Like, all of it. When I say all the buzz, like all the buzz. Nowadays, when all the buzz on a movie is bad, the movie fails. It just like the movie cannot overcome. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't think of a film that's like, oh, yo, this is gonna be bad, this is gonna be bad, this is gonna be bad. Then boom, everybody loves it. But I remember them talking about, yo, they weren't sure that Leo was right for it. They like the movie was delayed. It ended up, I think, coming out in December.
Stories from the set about how miserable the actors were.
Yeah.
It was unsafe. People were getting kidney infections. There was a food poisoning thing on the set. It was, it was all stuff like that.
And I remember the movie came out in December. I saw it in the theaters, but not until March. That's how long Titanic was in theaters. I didn't see it until March. And it was like every week, number one movie, Titanic. And then when it came out, like I remember I was in high school and some girls had said they had gone to see the movie. I'm like, I'm not going to see a 3-hour movie. And they're like, no, Van, like, you got to see the movie. Like, seriously, you have to go see the movie. And the shit was bomb. It didn't feel like 3 hours. It was the defining love story. That, and of course, Love Jones. It was the defining love story of that time in my life, for sure.
Well, you undersold the movie being in the theater for weeks and weeks and weeks. This was the number one movie for 16 straight weeks.
That's nuts.
Which will never happen again, ever, ever. It will never happen again. It will never come close to happening again.
Right.
Listen, when I was like a little kid, grew up hearing about Gone with the Wind, right? And Gone with the Wind was this defining movie and Oscars and kind of the most famous movie, right? And The Godfather, even like in the 70s, it took a while for The Godfather to have that kind of tail. But in the 70s and 80s, it was like if your default movie for what was the biggest, most successful, most influential movie, they would say Gone with the Wind. I do feel like Titanic was like Gone with the Wind for an entire generation. This big ass movie that made more money than any movie had ever made, that had a better backstory, and the whole Hollywood piece of it was unbelievable. It had one of the great directors we've ever had at his peak. But then it gives this gift of these two actors that were already, Leo was a little bit famous at that point. He'd been in Romeo and Juliet the year before. It wasn't like people didn't know who Leo was, but people really didn't know who Kate Winslet was.
Right.
And coming out of this for 25 years now, these are two of the most successful actors we've had in the last 30 years. And Leo has become the guy. I think Leo, in a lot of ways, has become the Nicholson for the last 25 years. Absolutely. Kate's one of the best actresses we've had in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
And that was what struck me rewatching it this time, was like, man, they're so young. And they have all these careers ahead of you. In the moment in 97, you're watching it going, these people are huge stars. Leo was the biggest star in the world after this movie came out.
For sure.
But he was still young. And it's like, what's going to happen next? Remember, he didn't work for 2 years. He made The Beach.
The Beach. And then it
was like, what, 2 years later? But watching this week, when I watched it with my wife, you just seen their whole careers ahead of them as you're watching it. It's like this whole new wrinkle for it, right?
Yeah. And the movie is interesting in the way that, like, it gave you those two relatively fresh faces. I knew who Leo was because the Basketball Diaries comes before that too.
He had some good ones. Gilbert Grape, This Boy's Life.
He's making his way, right? He's like on that trajectory. And what he really needs is this big, huge movie like Titanic to put him over the top and make him the guy. And then that's exactly what happens during the movie. A lot of actors get to that point and they don't stick that role. And they stay in career purgatory for a while and they eventually peter out. It happens all the time. But it didn't happen for Leo. But I also remember that the movie also had other things that, like, I don't know if I want to say grounded you or made you feel like, all right, it's not all on these kids. Kathy Bates pops up in the movie. Oh, I know her. You know, Billy Zane had been kicking around for a little while. Oh, I know him. You know what I mean? You were seeing places Francis Fisher, you were seeing faces that were familiar to you, and you knew that this was the guy that had brought you Aliens, that had brought you Terminator and Terminator 2. And so you wanted to see what was going to happen. You know that the ship, for all intents and purposes, was in good hands. And I think
and we know the ending too, right? You're going into it. I know how this ends, so now I'm in already.
This was the point of this was the thing that I never understood about Titanic that they had to let me know. Because as they were talking about Titanic, it was Leo and Kate Winslet and stuff like that. To me, the love story aspect of it prior to the movie was getting lost in all of the hubbub about how troubled the production was. So I remember when I was get the word of mouth, they would be like, no, it's not about the ship. It's like a love story. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's a love story on the Titanic and then the ship sinks. That right there is super fascinating. And in another way, this movie is kind of the death rattle of the monoculture because it's to me the last time I can remember being everything totally engulfed all in one thing. The song was everywhere. The My Heart Will Go On. It was all on Saturday Night Live. It was Leo, Leo, Leo. It was Kate, Kate, Kate. It just became its own pop culture thing, even more so than a film. It became its own entity.
And it's living now because who's that guy who puts the Titanic song over like great sports moments? It's 25 years later, still going.
Yeah, it's a huge deal, man.
The Titanic piece of it, the actual disaster element. So I grew up with this in the 70s. There was this whole disaster run of movies. There were the Airport. It was like Airport 2, Airport 75. Towering Inferno was the most famous of all.
China Syndrome.
China Syndrome. It was the 70s. They loved this. But Towering Inferno, which is a crazy movie to rewatch because it's got like Paul Newman when he was the most famous he's ever been. And it's got O.J. Simpson. And it's got Fred Astaire. And they just like loaded it. But this was this whole era, and then the airplane comedy movie came out making fun of all of it, and then it kind of faded away. Right. And then it comes back with this, with the guy who made Aliens, Terminator 2. And you're thinking like, it's about the boat that hit the iceberg?
Right.
And it's a love story?
Don't forget about Roland Emmerich, though, because Independence Day is right before this as well. Yeah, a great podcast I go on sometimes called The Disaster Girls, and they talk all about disaster movies and stuff like that. But this one is like the caviar of disaster movies.
Oh yeah, it's so well done. That's the thing. So when you're watching, you're like, man, this is everything. Like we don't see Leo and Kate for 20 plus minutes. That whole section just kind of shouldn't work. That should be the worst part of the movie. The Bill Paxton and he's looking for the wreckage, and it's like, oh, Susie Amos, and she's got this old, her Nana's going to come and tell her about that. And that part should be terrible. And it's like riveting. It's really good. It's like, oh man, what's this old lady know?
The movie doesn't work without it because like,
no.
On my rewatch, I really understood more about how the film is even about the boat sinking. It's not even about the love story. It's about Rose kind of coming to terms with her fate and what happened in her life. Like she never got a chance to say goodbye. You know what I mean? Like she never got an opportunity to say goodbye to the people. That was the defining moment of her life. And she had to just live through it and never really come to terms with it. And like coming back to it is kind of the whole thing. But you're so caught up in it in the first time that you don't even fucking know. Nobody in the world thinks any part of the Bill Paxton stuff or any of that stuff that happens in the modern day is their favorite part of this movie. No one. Like nobody, but it still works. You know what I mean? It's still there. It grounds the film. in a way that kind of.
And it leads to that great moment when we go back to the old lady with the people on the boat. And it's like about 2/3 of the way through the movie. All of a sudden we cut out of the Titanic, which is now sinking. And it goes back to the lady and she's telling them. And it cuts to the shot and there's like 20 of them and they're just completely riveted.
Yeah.
It's kind of like us, right? We're sitting like that in the movie theater. It's so smart.
Right.
And everybody has the right expression on their face because it's like, oh yeah, this 88-year-old lady who like, oh, she's going to just start rambling. No, I actually have a whole story for you about this necklace. Now sit down. I'm going to tell you. It's a long one and it's believable. And I just think Cameron did such a great job. He deserved all the money and all the accolades for this, even though people turned on him because of the Oscar speech.
Yeah.
He crossed the line.
He did.
He crossed the douche line, which is a dangerous move.
But really, in a way, I'm glad he did. And the reason why I say is because, like, that's kind of, James Cameron is a dreamer.
Yeah.
And, like, all of these A-type personality directors live on different planets, but he's the only one that built his own planet. He's the only guy that was like, all right, like he built his own planet. He really looks at things different way. The guy doesn't hardly make that many movies, right? He really thinks the films that he makes are super important. Avatar came out 2009 or whatever it was, highest grossing movie of all time. Normally you turn right around and make the sequel within 2 or 3 years. It's been fucking 15 some odd years, 13 years. And he is fully expecting us to go back and see another Avatar sequel, as if it's 2011. And
he did that with Terminator. It was
6
years between Terminators. Yeah,
the idea has to be right. He looks at these films as being very important things and very important commentaries on things. And so, the guy's a little self-important. It probably helps his art.
Well, I think I'm going to defend the Oscar speech for a second, even though it was super douchey in the moment. It was one of those where you're like, no. It was the cousin of why, Mel, why? It's like, no, James, no. But, he took an incredible amount of shit for 2 years about Titanic. He had to read it was too expensive. Nobody wanted to make it. Then they're making it. It's a disaster. Everybody hates the director. This isn't going to work. His career's going to go out in flames. And he's kind of like, fuck you.
Yeah.
So he wins. He breaks, he ties a bunch of Oscars records. They get nominated. I think they won 11. They won 11 of 14 nominations. And then he wins and he couldn't resist. He was like, it was kind of like an athlete.
Yeah.
It was like when an athlete wins the Super Bowl and they can't resist being like, nobody believed in us. So it was like his version of that.
Yeah. And by the way, when those guys do that normally gets on my nerves because you're looking at these guys, they're in the Super Bowl and they're going, no one thought we could get here. I'm like, nobody thought. Come on.
Yeah, no, not one person.
Not one person. Nobody thought it. Like all the haters, nobody thought. But in his situation, you'd have had to been around to see. That was in the era of I feel like Cutthroat Island was after that. It might have been after that. But there were a lot of movies at that time that were built up that were just fucking failing. The Cable Guy. You had Cutthroat Island. You have fucking the Mel Gibson joint, not the Mel Gibson, the Kevin Costner joint that you mentioned, Waterworld, which is not that bad on a rewatch.
And the Postman with Postman too is another one that bombed.
He had another one, post-apocalyptic joint. He went 0 for 2 in the apocalypse, Kevin Costner did. But like you could make an argument that maybe Wyatt Earp was there as well. He had a little rough period, but like
Wild Wild West was another one, late 90s, but same thing. People just got mad that it wasn't good.
They were just these guys were getting their asses kicked left and right, and he basically spiked the football. But none of the talk was as putrid as it was around Titanic. I remember people being so fucking smug about how bad this movie was going to fail. They were laughing, saying, oh, this is just going to be a disaster, blah, blah, blah. So I really don't blame them. I would have talked my shit too.
I can't remember that many movies in my life that it just seemed like, to borrow the metaphor, it was going to hit an iceberg.
Right.
And it actually was the opposite. Because everyone says The Godfather, there's this new TV show coming out called The Offer on Paramount about The Godfather, which basically lays out the making of The Godfather. And it was the same thing. It was this huge book that they're making a movie out of. They got this young director, all these young actors, Brando. And then at some point, everybody's like, this is going to suck. And that just became the narrative. It's also pre-internet. And the pre-internet pieces a fascinating component of this because the internet's rounding into shape even as this movie is being discussed and then it comes out. And Owen Gleiberman, who does a good job, he wrote in 2012, he's a movie critic, I think for EW at the time. He wrote, where Titanic may well be unique in the history of cinema, it is also arguably the most hated, beloved movie ever made. Titanic came out just as the internet was starting to rise up and merge into the ocean of our lives. And at that point, most of the hate directed at the movie was conversational and anecdotal. In spirit, it was computer viral. I remember that. I had my old column on Digital City at that time. I remember making there was not only Titanic became big, but then there was the backlash to Titanic becoming so big. And then it was about, this and why'd they do it that way? And some people loved it. People were going back. Remember, girls were going 7-8 times in a row. It's like, what's wrong with this?
After
so there's
school,
like a backlash.
Bill,
yeah.
after school, they were leaving from the school. I was in the 11th grade, maybe. They were leaving from school and going to see it again. Like, they made me go. The ladies in my English class. It became something that like, and look, bruh, I'm from South Baton Rouge, Louisiana. To make us go sit down for 3 hours in a movie.
15 minutes, 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Where there are no black people. Which is pretty good because that would just been one more thing we didn't need on our plate. You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad that nobody died. You know what I mean? But the movie culturally had zero connection, but everybody understands love. It's like as cliche as that is, it's a very common language. And
everyone understands love, and everyone understands what would I do if I knew I might be about to die,
right?
Or if I had a chance not to die, what would I do? How far would I go? Which is kind of the fundamental piece of this movie. It's like, how far would you go to stay alive?
Right.
Would you be a good person? Would you be a bad person? Would you be somewhere in between? Would you be on the Kathy Bates boat saying, let's go back and save these people? And then you have other people like, yeah, no, fuck that. Let them all die. We're good over here. They could pull us down. Like, what would you do?
And that's the perception of the movie that changes, like,
as you get
a little
older.
Yeah. And when you're a kid, you don't have any concept of your own mortality. You're watching the movie. You're like, Cal sucks. And now, when I saw him pick up the kid and use the kid to get into the boat, I thought, oh, shit.
Yeah, Cal, good one.
Savvy move, Cal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I'm like, that's something Cal would do, man. Fuck Cal. I'm like, okay, Cal found a way to get into a boat. Because at that point, you're just trying to get into a boat. And also, as many times as I've seen Titanic, I hadn't seen it in a while, right? As many times as I've seen Titanic, I don't remember being this affected by the movie. Like
Well, you know what it is? I felt the same way because I'd never watched it start to finish like that. I'm always jumping in, right? You're always coming in, or like my daughter's watching it, and it's like, you're an hour in. I'd never just watched it from the beginning like that. And it's really like you have to invest.
Yeah.
It's not I'm on my phone movie, it's just you gotta get sucked in, and especially everything's kind of going fine until they realize, this thing's going down in 2 hours. And then it's just the movie shifts in a way that I think is really unusual. It's almost like The Shining is like this too, right? The Shining has a certain pace. And then at some point, Jack snaps, and then it becomes this different movie for the last 40 minutes. But
and very rarely in a movie where, and I say Jack is the hero, but Rose is probably the hero, even though I have
hold it.
Rarely in a movie where the hero dies, where he just dies, where like Jack in Titanic represents everything that is good about humanity. Yeah. Like literally, it's almost he does Jack a coat in order to kind of like do some of his shit that he has to do or whatever to make sure he has to be in disguise for Rose or whatever. But he is as purely and goodly written a character as any character in a movie like that's this big. He is pure goodness. And he dies. Like,
it's funny you say that, because I was thinking when I was watching it, Jack's basically throwing a no-hitter for things you would have to do in a movie to make you and I like him. Anybody.
Right. Yeah. He's every single thing. Number one, he is the least pretentious person. He's got guts. He's got brains. He is talented. He is kind. He is uncommonly wise for a guy who's supposed to probably be about 18 or 19 years old. All of that stuff. And then At the
And he
end of
knows
the
what to
movie,
do when things are going to shit too.
knows what to
He
do when
has
things are
the
going to
right
shit.
instinct. It's like, I know what to do when this boat is now 300 yards in the air. Like, hold on. It's like, how the fuck do you know what to do?
He just knows. And guess what? All of that at the end of the movie, fucking icicle. And you got to live with it. You know what I mean? So like, it's a brutal movie in the way it fucks with your emotions as well.
Well, we have a lot of thoughts about Rose. In fact, Rose was the impetus for us wanting to do this podcast.
That's very true.
Some texting about Rose. Just before we get to that, though, Leo was basically 21, 22 range when he made this. He was 23 when it came out. Winslet was 21 as they were making it, 22 when it came out. Leo, we've talked on the Rewatchables in the past. Leo was clearly going to be somebody. You watch him in This Boy's Life with De Niro. You watch him in Gilbert Grape, Basketball Diaries, Romeo and Juliet. He was on the ladder to becoming a massive star, and it was a question of what movie. Nobody was surprised by the Leo thing. I didn't have a history with Winslet, but Leo did become the biggest star in the world when this movie came out. There's no question. He was the biggest heartthrob. I guess like Harry Styles' last 5 years would be a general comparison to what it was like for Leo. But
it's not even close.
It's just, he was worldwide.
Yeah.
Everyone was in love with him. There's a fascination with him that I don't think has happened with anyone else in the last, 30, 35 years.
Well, so this is what I'd say. So let me not say that it's not even close with Harry Styles, because that's the old man Van talking. Of course it's close. I'd say Justin Bieber would be close. If you're just talking about overall fandom, people going like super apeshit nuts crazy, but then as Scooter said on my podcast one time, Justin went rogue and things changed. Right. And things changed a little bit. That's obviously different because it's like music stuff, whatever. But in terms of being a shooting star actor phenomenon, I can't think of anyone. Like it like not to this level, because the reason why is nobody had a movie this big to catapult them into it. Like this was the biggest movie of all time, and this is the actor, the fresh face of the biggest movie of all time. So he obviously went to different levels than people went to.
And was really smart about keeping a mystique, which I think has been one of the great things Leo has done really since the mid-90s. We know he likes his models. We know he has his crew, his Tobey Maguire and Ethan Haas, all those dudes.
Fucking Q-tip.
We know he keeps it low. Yeah. He's up to stuff. We see him. He comes out occasionally for interviews. He's very careful, doesn't say too much. Never does like the Tom Cruise, I'm overdoing it. Look at me, Aaron Rodgers stuff. Just kind of does his work. Yeah. Banks his checks. We still don't know like a ton about him. I mean, what do we know about him at this point? Even that, like his relationship with Kate Winslet as it's evolved over the years, where it seems like they have a real connection. I don't know that much about it. So he's figured it out really for 25 years. I'm sure like during your days when you were covering celebrities, like I'm sure he was a frustrated nut to crack, right? How do you get information on him?
He wasn't a frustrated nut to crack. You just didn't even worry about it. Yeah. It wasn't like
you weren't getting to him.
Yeah. If you got like those like when people are on yachts, you get that long photo,
the Periscope photo, yeah,
the Periscope photo of him hanging out, and it always would be about, because Leo has this thing that he's able to do, which is anoint you to be a cool person in Hollywood. So Jonah Hill, like Jonah Hill goes and he does Moneyball with Brad Pitt. Jonah Hill's an awesome guy. Not talking shit about Jonah Hill, but then you see Jonah Hill hanging out with Leonardo DiCaprio on a beach somewhere. They're chilling after, I guess they were making Wolf of Wall Street and they got close or whatever. And now Jonah Hill is one of these guys who's just fucking cool. You see Toby with Leo. You see all of these different people with Leo. Leo had the ability. He was such a massive star. Even not like a star, because a star is bright. Leo was like a black hole. Like he sucks things into him and changes them. Like that's how big of a deal and how mysterious like he really is. And when you're working at a place like I work, you don't even try to get a celebrity like that because they're never going to be around. Like you can't run a celebrity website off Leonardo DiCaprio stories because you're not going to get any.
He's never messing up.
Right.
But Nicholson I feel like Nicholson was like that in the 70s and 80s, where he was the biggest star / personality of all those actors. And he was friends with everybody and a connector. But that was the different era. That was the cocaine party era, the disco era. But same kind of thing. There was always a mystique with him. So when he would go to these Laker games, it was like, oh my God, Nicholson. Like it was like kind of the only time he did stuff. He didn't do interviews. He wasn't out there promoting stuff.
The reason why there are not that many guys who do it is because you can't pull it off. Yeah. See, if you do it that way, that means it's all about the work, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have your life out there, if you're not on the cover of magazines, if you're not doing hella photo shoots, if you're not playing around even like right now on Instagram, if you're not there are other people who have parallel careers that are both there's a publicity career where they turn up and say funny shit on Jay Leno or do funny little, and then they also have their actual movie career, right? And one supplements the other one. If you make a bomb, people still like you because you're funny on Instagram, or you're funny here, you're funny there, or they see you around and you have this big personality. If you don't do that, it's only about the movies. Like, it's literally just about the work. And Leonardo DiCaprio's career, other than dating the models, that's the one thing that we know about him. It is literally only about the movies. It's just about the work. We don't talk about Leo as it relates to any scandals. We don't talk about Leo as it relates to any, like, even the women that he's connected to aren't particularly famous. I mean, they're models that are well known. They become famous after he dates them. But like the whole Kate Winslet thing was fascinating because we were like, yo, they're very close.
Yeah, what's going on there?
Yeah. You know what I mean? Because he never really gives us that. Doesn't give us anything really to talk about besides like what actually is going on the screen.
And so his friends don't talk about him either. That's the other thing. His friends are super loyal.
Super loyal. And it's like they all have this little circle and it makes it seem genuine. Even when remember they had the joint over on 3rd, it might still be their goal.
Yeah. And he was an owner.
He was an owner. Every once in a while, you could go to Goal and see him in there, right? And the reality was, even though that was the case, there was never one story that came out of there about Leonardo DiCaprio. It's just very interesting, at least not that I can remember.
Well, he was friends with Kevin Connolly, and they always thought Entourage was based at least a little bit on Leo's story. But Leo never made an appearance on Entourage. You know, and there was a hands-off thing with Leo that I think people respected how he handled his business, and they kind of left him a little alone. Also, like, you think about how he's a child actor who becomes the biggest star in the world. I would say Leo and LeBron have handled what happened to them at an early age the best out of anyone ever. I would say those are the two. It's always been the most impressive thing about LeBron. He was famous when he was 15. He was like legitimately famous. 16, 17, he's on the Sports Illustrated 17. And I think if the worst thing he ever did was The Decision, that's pretty good. Leo, even more famous, and was able to handle it and does good work. And I think coming out of this movie, the bet would have been, I bet his career is going to go sideways. That's more likely than him becoming one of the best actors we have. I would have said it would have.
He's more famous than LeBron James at the point that Titanic comes out. LeBron was more famous younger, right?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I guess
I think Leo after Titanic is more famous than LeBron or any athlete could ever be.
Because
it's a different level of fame.
Yeah, it's like it's totally different. Yeah, it's not the same.
All right, Van, it's time. We got to talk about Rose. This movie has existed now for almost 25 years. I love Kate Winslet. I'm on the record as saying one of my favorite actresses. She was on The Watch with Andy and Chris. I was furious. I can't believe she was on their podcast, not mine. I'm her number one normal fan. Rose sucks. Rose is a terrible character. I have so many problems with Rose. I'm going to start here. She killed Jack. Killed him.
Yeah.
Switch in the water with him every 10 minutes. Yeah. Just let him die. And then was shocked, but I'm going to go through it. Well, actually, before I go through it, as you watch this movie time and time again, what is it about Rose that drives you crazy?
All right, there are two things. Two main things. And then there's more shit that I picked up.
Yeah, I have a whole bullet point list. Yeah.
But there's two main things. The one thing was something that dawned on me when I was working back in the day. I said it on television to piss all the girls in the office off. So, two things. Rose dies at the end of this movie, right? She passes away.
We think. Cameron said he left it open for interpretation.
Okay. The way I viewed it is that she passed away.
Yep.
All right. So let's just say that Rose passed away at the end of the movie. All right. So Rose passes away. And then after she passes away, she then gets transported back. Like the scene of Titanic of her kissing Jack is supposed to be like a facsimile for the afterlife, right?
She ends up in heaven with Jack.
She ends up in heaven with Jack. Great. What about this other motherfucker?
Yeah.
That you spent your entire life with.
And had kids with.
And had kids with. The girl that Rose is talking, Susie Amos, who looks great in this movie. Susie Amos is Rose's granddaughter.
Yeah.
So there was a whole nother guy that Rose ended up getting with and having a life with, made children, made a life, got a different last name, the whole shit.
Yeah.
She is pining for a dude she knew for 3 days, 1912.
2.5.
2.5 days. And by the way, a large portion of those days were spent in life, for the last day, in life-altering fright.
Yeah.
Okay, not the best thing to and she goes and spends the rest of eternity for him. If I'm Rose's dead husband, I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? Like, what? Like
the biggest loser of this movie isn't the 1,500 dead on the Titanic. It's Rose's husband, who devoted his whole life to just being a nice guy and having some kids with her, and then that's who she goes to in the afterlife.
Think about how many times this guy's had to hear about Jack.
Oh my God!
Think about the fact that they're going somewhere and they're talking and it's really cold and Rose is looking away. He's like, "Oh,
so, what's wrong, baby?
What's wrong?" He's like, "What's wrong?" And she's like, "It was a night just like this." Oh, I don't want to hear it no more, Rose. I've heard about.
Let's be honest. They're divorced. In real life, they're divorced.
They got divorced.
They have 2 kids, and then he's out, and he starts cheating on her with a waitress just to like have some sort of upper hand in the whole relationship.
In real life, it's probably like Revolutionary Road.
Oh yeah,
that's probably what it is. Secondly,
yeah,
and then we're going to get to your list. But these are the main 2 things with me. There's lots of other stuff.
That was so important what you just said. I really hope people thought about it, marinated on it. It's such a crucial point. Second,
okay. Rose tossing the heart of the ocean in the ocean. All right, let me tell you why I have a big problem with this. I don't know if you guys watching this know, but I'm black. All right? And being that I'm black, having somebody throw $500 million in the ocean, having somebody just get rid of that type of situation just blows my fucking mind. I can't wrap my mind around that. You don't see this big ass fucking tanker and all of these people looking for this thing? Your daughter is making googly eyes at the guy. It's his job to find it. They came and found you. You're telling your story. Everybody is around this. I get it. But Cal and the Hockleys are all dead. You ain't doing it to spite them. They gone. He killed himself. It all went bad for him. My thing is, why would you do that? Hey, the movie.
You have a family. You have kids and grandkids that you could set up for 10 generations.
What about poor people anywhere?
Right.
What about tell your granddaughter, yo, this is what you should do. Don't give it to these guys because they have you looking for no bullshit. Take it and go feed Harlem.
Right. Start the Necklace Foundation where we'll create $500 million of college scholarships.
Rose, I don't know if you know, but it's not 1914 anymore. Like, there's not enough to go around. I mean, not that there was then, but what I'm saying is the fact that she does that and it's looked at as some sort of noble thing. This caused an argument last night between me and Kalika. Kalika was like, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to go take it and make some money off of it? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or give it to charity or do good things with it. Anything.
Or give it to a museum or whatever. Why on earth you would have to be super self-centered, in my opinion, to drop that big ass diamond in the ocean? Like, it just makes absolutely no sense.
It goes back to Rose, the human being she was.
Right.
Let's go the Rose checklist. You mentioned 2 of them, but I'll do them again as I'm doing this. All right. Rose checklist. Here's our evidence that Rose sucks. She marries the worst guy ever. Like, I assume Stalin was probably married at that point.
Maybe that was her mom.
I don't know if Hitler had met Eva Braun yet, but she's gonna marry this guy who is the absolute horror show of all time. I don't care if your mom's
That was the mom, though. Be fair to Rose.
Okay, so you're basically being prostituted out by your mom to be with the most evil, villainous person who's ever lived,
right?
And you're totally fine with that, and you're excited because you get to fill your bedroom on the boat with fucking Picasso drawings. Deep down, you're into it. You're trying to pretend you don't like this guy, but deep down, you kind of like the lifestyle, Rose. You do. You kind of like it. You like the dress, the corset. You kind of fucking like it, Rose. Don't fight it.
Her mom was guilt tripping the hell out of her, Bill. Her mom was the whole scene with the mom. Okay.
All right. So finally she decides, I'm trapped. I'm going to go jump off the boat. But you're not really.
Right.
You're not really jumping on the boat. You're kind of standing on the edge, hoping somebody's going to notice. Of course, Jack does. What does Jack do? He fucking saves her.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's a good guy. Right. And then she can't even climb back on the boat because she's an idiot. Saves her again, second time.
Right.
Falls on her. People show up. What does Rose do? Just kind of nothing.
Nothing. Waits until the guy comes.
He's handcuffed.
Y'all, go back and watch the movie. She does nothing. By the time Cal comes and Lovejoy, who's like James Bond, by the time they come, Jack is already handcuffed. She hasn't told them anything yet.
She's like, oh, can I get another blanket?
I'm like, yo, I sent you a text. I'm like, yo, why did she wait till Jack was already handcuffed to tell them that nothing went on? Like, they think that she got assaulted. It has no sense whatsoever.
Then begrudgingly, it's like, actually, he was helping me and I lost my balance. And so finally she does the right thing. It takes 15 minutes, but a warning sign for what kind of person Rose is. It has one date with Jack, right? Runs around the boat with him for a little bit. All of a sudden, he's painting her naked, and they're fucking in a car.
Right.
She's engaged.
Yeah.
She met this guy 5 minutes ago. Doesn't even know really anything about him. So I'm not going to judge, but it was 1912.
Hold on. I got to be honest. We just got to keep it all the way real here.
Yeah.
You guys, Rose cheated. Now, here's the thing.
Yeah, she's a cheater.
So let's be honest. I'm not judging. I don't judge. But if this were anybody else in any other situation, you guys would be saying that Rose is toxic. Rose cheated. Now, what she could have gone back. She eventually goes back to Cal and, to warn them about the boat crashing. But if not, she just runs off with Jack. Cal fucked up bad guy. But she did have a fiance. Let's keep it real.
Thank you. She steals the piece of the floating boat from Jack, who then tries to get on with her, and it sinks. And then he's like, all right, I'm just going to hang out here in this freeze. I'm going to get hypothermia and die. Any concern for Jack? No. Should we swap every 10 minutes? No. Doesn't care. Then she passes out, wakes up because there's the rescuers.
Uh-huh.
Jack, wake up. Jack's fucking dead. It is minus 30. It's minus 30 in the ocean. And you've been out there for 2 hours. What did you think he was like treading?
Right.
He's having like a saltine cracker? Okay, so then after she murders Jack, which she did, what's your name, ma'am? In the boat after? My name is Rose Dawson. So now you're taking his name?
Yeah.
You just killed him.
Yeah.
You killed him. Now you're taking his name. She has a family with someone else, raves about Jack, who she knew for 60 hours for the rest of her life. On the boat, old lady lying in bed, right? That's like, hey, we're going to make this little like home for you. What's on the nightstand? It's 8 pictures of Rose. Where's her fucking family? Go look at it. It's just 8 Kate Winslet pictures. Let me check. Does your nightstand have 8 pictures of just Van?
No, it's
in different things. Yeah, people you love.
Yeah, right.
What the fuck? It's like, oh, hey, if we're gonna sleep on that boat, can you take those 8 framed pictures of me? Because I want to put those next to my bed. No picture of. She didn't have a picture of Jack, but where's the husband? Obviously, the husband hated it.
No picture of the granddaughter.
The husband's gone. Yeah, no kids, grandkids, nothing. And then the coup de grace. She takes a $1,000,000,000 necklace that everyone's looking for. The money could be used all these different awesome ways, throws in the ocean. For what reason? Right. What's your reason, Rose?
No.
You know what the reason was? You're selfish, and you're a bad mother, and you're a bad grandmother, and you're a bad fiance, and you're a bad 60-hour girlfriend. You sucked in all the parts of your life.
Craig is so upset.
I'm sorry, Craig. I love this movie. Rose is awful.
Craig is so upset. I've had problems with Rose for years. I've had problems with Rose because of the Cal thing. Not the Cal thing. Cal was fucking terrible. Cal was the worst.
Maybe they deserved each other. Maybe that was like the perfect couple. She's the worst. He's the worst. Maybe they were meant to be.
Cal was the worst. Also, I want you guys to go back and look at something. Jack had to talk Rose into being like a good person.
Yeah. Over and over again.
She was snatching stuff from him. He had to get into her inner core. He changed her, but Rose was a spoiled brat, little selfish motherfucker. I'm keeping it real. Now, she got better, but I'm telling you, you guys, there's no way you can't tell me that guy who devoted his life to Rose doesn't feel a certain way. He's probably up in heaven feeling totally played, getting the extra shot of Jack and Jack.
He goes to heaven. He's like, where's my wife that I just spent 50 years with? Oh, no, she's over there with the guy she knew for 60
She's
hours.
over there with Jack.
Yeah.
With the guy she barely knew.
She has 3 relationships with men in this movie. One is the fiance that she cheats on in 2 hours. One is the guy she just lets freeze to death. And one is her husband that she just uses and abuses for 60 years and doesn't even want to see in heaven. And then she surrounds herself with pictures of herself and then throws the necklace that could set up generations of her family into the ocean.
Last thing I'll say about the husband. Who do you think was taking all those pictures, Bill? Who do you think was taking all those pictures of Rose on a horse, Rose next to a plane, Rose next to a...
Mr. Rose.
All those
it was
Mr. Rose was taking. You don't think that he was like, hey, you want to get a picture of us? Think about how you would feel right now. You're going somewhere with your family and you ask someone, hey, take a picture of me and my wife. And then your wife goes, no.
Yeah, just can I get a solo? Can you get the sunset behind me? No, I would say honestly, how it played out for Rose's husband is the worst case scenario for marriage. I'm married, you're getting married. This is my worst case scenario. Is you end up like Rose's husband. You're not even in the pictures next to her fucking bed as she's about to, die. You didn't make one of them.
Some other guy that she knew in college, went to spring break with, a very tragic spring break, and now she's all over him. I don't like it. Never have.
Well, James Cameron, who didn't notice any of this, but he said he did the Titanic because he said it was like a great novel that really happened. He said, all my films are love stories. Don't necessarily 100% agree with that. But in Titanic, I finally got the balance right. It's not a disaster film. It's a love story with a fastidious overlay of real history and a portrait of a maniacally self-absorbed woman who just destroys every man in her path. I would include that as well. This was, for Cameron, he became the first Academy Award winner to produce, directed, written, and edited by the same person.
That's nuts, bro.
That's nuts. 14 Oscar nominations, which tied All About Eve for the record. 11 wins, which tied Ben-Hur for the record. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Cinematography, Best Original Dramatic Score, Best Original Song, whole bunch of others. Also won 4 Grammys. Was Leo DiCaprio nominated for this movie?
No. And I remember it being a big deal when it happened.
It's an outrage.
I remember
a fucking outrage.
I remember that being of the Oscars that year, people talking about the fact that the one glaring snub was that he was not nominated for an Academy Award. I remember that clear as day.
You know who got nominated?
Who did?
Kate Winslet for The Selfish Rose, who even in the Oscars, Rose is winning. Everyone else. So here are the best actor that year. Jack Nicholson wins for As Good as It Gets. Matt Damon, Good Will Hunting. Dustin Hoffman, Wag the Dog. Robert Duvall and The Apostle. I'm okay with those 4.
Great movie.
Peter Fonda and Uli's Gold. I'm pretty sure we could have bumped Peter Fonda or Dustin Hoffman.
Dustin Hoffman probably. The Peter Fonda was almost like a...
that was like an old guy thing.
Yeah, wave goodbye.
By the way, those days are over with the way the Academy is now.
Never happen again.
The old guy, congratulations nomination is gone. But anyway, so he didn't win. Mark Wahlberg for Boogie Nights also didn't get nominated. There's a bunch of good performances from '97 that did not get nominated. We mentioned $200 million budget, made $2.2 billion. First film to make $1 billion. Roger Ebert, our guy, 4 stars. Flawlessly crafted, intelligently constructed, strongly acted, and spellbinding.
Yeah.
I agree with all of those things.
Fantastic movie.
All right, most rewatchable scene. This is weird because I wouldn't include anything from the first 21 minutes necessarily. You might say the whole thing, but I wouldn't say there's like a most rewatchable. It's interesting, but I want to get to the boat. Rose has a meltdown. Jack saves her. Jack almost gets blamed. Is great. It's fun to watch, even from like where the NFL pregame show breaking down like tape. There's so many pieces to that scene, and it makes me madder every time that Rose lets them hanging. The dinner party, which I think is the best pre-boat sinking scene of the movie, which Leo gets the invite. Leo gets the tuxedo from Kathy Bates. So Kathy Bates positioned as. You'll see this sometimes, most famously in Victory, which we covered here, the soccer movie, where there was the good Nazi.
Right.
Where the one good character who's around all of these reprehensible characters, there's the one who's like, that person's okay. So Kathy Bates is positioned as the good, bad person in this.
And also, she's...
Unsinkable Molly Brown is her name.
Unsinkable Molly Brown. And also, obviously, shout out to Debbie Reynolds, nominated 1963?
53, yeah.
For portraying Molly Brown. But also... hitting at the movie's core that pretentiousness and excess wealth is the reason why Titanic sank. There's a hidden theme in this movie that the excesses of Titanic are why it sank, right?
It's not even hidden.
They talk about it, right? And the people aboard Titanic that are, regaling and all of this stuff, they represent the failing of Titanic itself. Molly Brown is nouveau riche. So because she's new money, she's not quite as sort of infected by that whole thing as the rest of them are. So she's like pulling Rose back, and like she relates to Jack because she sees herself in Jack. Just an overall theme in the movie that like being grounded and living life and not being pretentious or super rich and snobby is the way to go. And that's kind of like what she represents as well.
There's some really good class stuff in this movie, and it's intentional, and it's not that hard to figure out. But even like the way the boat's constructed, right?
Right.
The top tier of the boat is all the richest people.
Right.
Second tier, first tier, and then by the time you get to the bottom of the boat, it's just the people who almost seem like they're in the depths of hell, just keeping the boat going, and you don't even know what's going on down there. But the goal is to get to the top part of the boat, which is kind of like real life and in disturbing
and historically
ways.
accurate. If you look at when Titanic sank, a lot of the lifeboats went out and there were a lot of people in them and stuff. Right.
So Leo in that dinner party scene, that's Leo's, I think, best scene, where he's just not gonna let everybody make him feel like he's some sort of like not worthy of being at the table. He brings real insight. He has a great speech, which we're gonna play right now. Yeah, he does basically the whole life's a gift thing. And it's great. And it works. And he's so charming. And it's just like, that's why that scene alone, Leo should have been nominated for Best Actor, because that would have been the Oscar clip, I think. But that's like, if you're talking about like what makes Leo a great actor at that point in his career, the charm, the ability to kind of suck everybody into his prey, it's all there.
Also, he looks like he is just totally unaffected. I mean, he's obviously nervous, but as soon as he gets settled in, there's this confidence. Like, if you watch this movie, if there was one thing that you took away from Titanic when you watched the movie, one thing, there was one sentence, one message, it would be Leonardo DiCaprio is a movie star. That would be the thing that you would pull away from the film. If there was one thing. And that scene kind of like, that scene sort of illustrates that. Like, you see him, he is like totally confident, even to the point to where he gets in and starts doing his shit, and he tosses Cal the matches like, hey, here you go, man. Here, take these. You know what I mean? He's actually not in their element anymore. He's brought them into his. And it's like, it's hard to do. Hard to do in that situation. He does it without any pretension at all.
It's such a good point about the like true movie star.
Mm-hmm.
It's something William Goldman always used to write about. Because when I was growing up as a kid, we had like Newman and Redford.
Yeah, for sure.
These people that, just pulsate out of the screen. There's different types, right? Like De Niro and Pacino are obviously movie stars, but the true charisma movie star is like its own version of a movie star. And Leo, I think, lasts 25 years out of anybody. I think it's something, you know, it's been able to explain why Cruise is able to always come back, right? He just seems like a movie star. You watch him, you see him in Rain Man or whatever, pick a Cruise movie. Cocktail's the ultimate charisma movie.
Yeah.
And Leo's like that. The Beach, which I still don't know what the plot of The Beach was. It's just Leo being a movie star on an island for 2 hours and it works. But I think he really tried to consciously uncouple himself from that in the 2000s with some of the movies he picked, right? Where he didn't want just the charisma parts. He wanted to do weird shit. He wanted to go on Shutter Island and, you know, the leading to The Revenant. But
Shutter
movies
Island
that
sucks.
where the charisma-less performances seemed like he became interested in.
So there's one, and it was a movie I was obsessed with. I don't know if you guys have done it yet. I've seen this more than I've seen any other Spielberg movie, and it's weird. Like
Aviator.
Catch Me If You Can.
Oh, Catch Me Again.
Catch Me If You Can. Scorsese did the Aviator.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah. Catch Me If You Can. Catch Me If You Can is my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio movie. And it's because I know that everybody's gonna be weird about that. The Wolf of Wall. There's so many great movies, but Catch Me If You Can is my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio movie because like it's literally him. It's not about him being a movie star at all. It's him being a charlatan, a con
He's a
man.
bullshit artist. Yeah,
He's a bullshit artist the whole fucking time, just bullshitting people, and he plays it so perfectly. I absolutely love that movie. It's almost the antithesis.
We'll add it to the list.
Sure.
More rewatchable scenes. I just lumped together. I don't know what you want to pick, but Jack and Rose on the front of the ship when he's holding her, like that became one of the most famous scenes.
Yeah.
Jack drawing Rose, which for a lot of people, that was, by the way, the first scene they filmed with Leo and Kate was the new drawing scene. But for a lot of kids, first time they saw a topless lady, which we'll get to later. The importance of that.
Wasn't expecting to see it. I mean, I went there and I was like, whoa,
Rose.
Rose, okay, I feel you.
We get Jack and Rose running from the fake cop, and then we got Jack and Rose in the car leading to the hand on the windshield, which I want to break down later. The iceberg scene is great. I forgot how great that was. Just like, oh no. Let's beep the thing. Oh, we got to turn it. And then you think they're going to make it. No, they're not going to make it. And then watching the iceberg go by the boat. There's a lot of like, how the fuck did they do that moments in this movie? And I think that's one of them. Watching the boat go by the iceberg, like, damn. Because now they would just CGI that. I'm not sure they had that technology in 97, right?
Well, there's some CGI in this movie. Like I think some of the stuff that you're talking about is practical on the soundstage when you talk about the iceberg and stuff. But like, there are obvious CGI parts when, like Jack and Rose, when they pull away from them on the thing, that's CGI. They obviously CGI'd their face when they were running through that hallway. But some of the stuff, I even looked at some of the flooding and stuff. I'm like, yo, this must have been a brutal shoot. Like it had to have been
There's a lot of stories are about that. Yeah, how bad it was. Rose breaks away to save Jack the first time. That's when Billy Zane goes full wrestling heel. It's a pity I didn't keep that drawing. It would have been worth a lot more in the morning.
Yeah.
And then she goes, I'd rather be his whore than your wife, and spits right in his face.
When I tell you that
Big
line, that line paralyzed the theater.
Yeah,
I'm in Cortana Mall, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Everybody like, oh shit! Like paralyzed the theater.
Well, there's stuff. This is half-assed internet research, but there's some people think the spit scene was improvised and not planned, and she just hawked a loogie right in Billy Zane's face, and he didn't know that was coming.
Well,
so who
knows?
knows?
Pay me $50,000 extra for that. Spit in my face, Bill Romanowski.
Big loogie too. Yeah. The swinging axe scene is really good. When she does the two practice things and they don't come close. Yeah. It's just good. It's like a really just smart 2-minute scene. The boat sinks, breaks in half, and tips over. This is now a horror movie.
All right.
Jack somehow knows what to do. We have Captain Smith's final scene, which they used 120 tons of water to pour in, and the actor was terrified, and everything about it is absolutely mesmerizing. And if it's on TV and the boat's about to sink, I'm watching.
Yeah. And I felt the worst for him.
The captain.
went down with his ship. He just seemed shell shocked. He knew everything to do. They just gave him. He just got a whack rig, man.
Looked a little like Steve Nash before the James Harden trade. Jack dies. Rose does the whistle. That part's
That's
good.
great.
Has to hop in the water and swim. And then the very, very ending is really good. The Rose goes to heaven, whatever you think happens in that, and the way they film it. We're back on the boat. The boat's back.
I know.
Everything's good again.
And
let's go up the stairs. Oh, there's Leo. This is great.
I'll be honest with you. Had some fun with Rose earlier. That scene is absolutely breathtaking.
It's great.
Great
ending.
Because it's like, it really, like, it gives you all the feels. Everybody's, hey, we've all been waiting for you. It's really like a part of your life stopped right here. So we're all waiting for you here. We're here. Jack's up here too. Look at him. He's okay.
My most rewatchable scene is the dinner party for the non-boat going down, and then basically the boat sinking, tipping over, and everybody falling, like that whole thing. Those would be my two. What do you have?
So two other rewatchable scenes I like. One is I like when you said Cal goes full heel and the movie becomes a horror movie. The movie actually becomes a horror movie when Cal grabs a gun and tries to kill them.
Right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Like he actually went totally crazy and grabbed a gun. His whole thing was an OJ thing because he was abusive at first. And then he tries to kill both of them, right?
Oh.
So basically an OJ Simpson turn is what Cal had, right?
Yeah.
And then also, I like the party scene, and I'll tell you why. The party scene is important because we already knew that Jack could survive in Rose's world.
Yeah.
But we didn't really know if Rose could survive in Jack's. And when they go down to the party and she's cool and she's drinking, she's hanging out, she stands on her toes, that's when you really know that these two people are meant to be together, because that's when they show that like they can be mirrors of one another. But the most rewatchable scene in the movie is I'm the king of the world. It's not the king of the world, because he says that before. Whenever they're on the boat.
With the boat, the two of them together.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the most rewatchable scene.
What's aged the best? I mean, the number one thing for what's aged the best is Leo and Kate and just our history with them now. So that has to be the answer.
And James Cameron.
Yeah, James Cameron. The score of this movie is really good. And it's a lot of variations of the Celine Dion song, but just the little twangs, and it just keeps going, and it's just, I mean, everything about this movie. It's like going to a dinner where every single piece of it is just first class. Mm-hmm. Everything's been thought of. They thought of even everything down to the tablecloth, how the waiters come over. It's just like an exquisite movie. Apparently, Cameron, when the ship hit the iceberg, was fascinated by what I mentioned earlier about how will people act if they know they're either definitely going to die or probably going to die, and actually sketched out a bunch of different things that he thought would happen. And then that played out with some of the things they did, including the band, which I think is another what's aged the best. The band continued to play. Shout out to the band. Great job by them. Keeping it real.
To the end. There was one scene that I always forget about, but this just shows you the sort of brutal emotional toll that the movie takes on you. You know the scene where the lady, who I think is the same lady who plays what's his name's mom in Terminator 2?
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, is like reading to her kids.
Yeah.
They're not even trying to escape. She knows there's no boats. It's over for them. They're going to die. And she's just trying to put them to sleep and keep them. Just, my God, man. Yeah.
The Celine Dion song, I think, has aged the best in terms of it's one of the most identifiable songs attached to a movie we've ever had.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question. Kate took an entire generation of boys' topless lady virginity.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I wanted to bring up because I wanted to know who took your movie topless lady virginity, and I'm going to tell you who took mine.
Movie topless lady virginity was taken in watching Trading Places.
Oh, Jamie Lee Curtis.
No.
What do you mean?
It's before
the first lady, one of the dancer ladies. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's before that.
When he's having the party. I got you.
He's having the party. Do you want to pump?
Right.
Let me show you how. And I remember I seen it. And my dad went, "All right, boy," because I was like, "Whoa!" I was watching the movie. My dad was like, "All right, boy." All right,
here we go.
I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh my God!" But that was the one. And then later on, Jamie Lee Curtis came in. That
Yeah.
was a double whammy. I changed my life. I don't want to get into that whole thing.
Mine was Slapshot. Hanrahan's wife lying next to Paul Newman. It was like, whoa. I thought this was a hockey movie. What's happening? That'd be a great podcast of who took your eyesight virginity with different body parts. Because, man, you can have men and women. I'm sure there's a whole alternate podcast.
Yeah.
The second Rose breakaway off the boat when Billy Zane does the I always win Jack one way or another. Just a great evil guy line.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get better than that. We mentioned the class metaphor of the boat. I wrote, so Mr. Andrews is the guy who built the boat.
Yes.
Captain Smith is the captain who goes down with the boat.
Uh-huh.
I wrote that Mr. Andrews is like Rob Pelinka realizing the Westbrook trade didn't work. And Captain Smith is like Frank Vogel.
Right.
Where he's just like, all right.
Right.
I'm going to go back into my cabin and just wait for the water to
Just
wash
water
me away
rush
into
in.
the sea.
Nothing
Yeah.
I can do.
Hey,
Yeah.
Carmelo, sure. Let's run another pick and roll with you. That's fine. When's the water going to hit me? Any other, what's age the best for you?
A couple of things. To me, this is like just Bill Paxton. I love Bill Paxton, man.
Me too. He should be in it. Yeah, he should have been in there.
Yeah, like I'll rest in peace.
Also, he's dead now, so it's even better to see him in this movie. We're like, hey, Bill Paxton, I fucking love that guy.
Yeah, I love Bill Paxton. Rest in peace to Bill Paxton, man. He's like, I always like seeing him. And you know what I thought aged the best? I now watch all of these shows on the History Channel that are about what the people on Bill Paxton's boat are doing.
So Titanic spin-off content.
Like we're taking computers and going through old ships and trying to figure it out. Like they're doing what Bill Paxton's crew is doing. And like those are now shows that you watch on TV. Like we're searching for Noah's Ark or we're doing all of this different stuff. And I just thought, I would watch this shit all the time.
Another What's Age the Best that hasn't manifested itself yet was our video that we did about Rose on the YouTube channel. I can't wait for that to age fantastically. We need Big Rach's take on Rose. You got to bring that up to an higher learning.
I'll be honest with you. I can't guarantee that Rachel has seen Titanic. It's that bad.
Wow. Well, that's we're moving to What's Age the Worst. That's the first What's Age the Worst.
Right.
If Rachel Lindsay has not seen Titanic yet.
I can't guarantee that Rachel has seen Titanic. I'm confident that she has, but there are some movies out there that Rachel she'll tell you. She's like, that's not I can't guarantee she's seen Titanic.
More What's Age the Worst. This movie's 3 hours and 15 minutes. It's like a gulp when you see it, when you're clicking on Amazon. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. But then you got to talk. Danny Nucci is the Italian guy, Fabrizio.
Yeah.
Not positive about his accent. It's not as bad as Jared Leto in the Gucci movie, but
right.
Billy Zane.
Yeah, come on, man. Of course.
Do we even need to talk about Billy Zane in this movie, or can we just keep moving on?
Obviously, everything aged fucking terribly. Like just all of it. He's the worst bastard, son of a bitch, abusive.
But what about the actual performance? Because it's a little SNL sketchish.
Uh-huh.
It's a little Phil Hartman playing that guy or whoever it would be now. It's a little SNL-y, a little bit, just a whiff of SNL-y.
Bill, I'll tell you something about like Billy Zane. This is close to my heart.
Okay.
There's nothing that Billy Zane has ever done on film that I haven't been a gigantic fan of.
Dead Calm?
Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight. He hams it up. He's wacky. The Phantom, he's a wacky bastard. And he was a little bit over the top in this movie sometimes, but I like Billy, man. Gotta be honest with you.
Okay. I thought he dialed it up a little too much. We mentioned Cameron, King of the World. Robert Altman gave an interview about one of the great directors. He said, Titanic, I thought, was the most dreadful piece of work I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yo,
Robert, settle down.
God damn.
Yeah, settle down, Robert. William Goldman, the icon, wrote about the Billy Zane part.
Uh-huh.
He said, maybe the most amazing thing about this amazing movie is the Billy Zane part. I cannot think of another movie of this quality that has anything this awful near the core. Everything about the role, the writing of it, the directing of it, the conception of it would have been unacceptable in an 1890s melodrama. And then he talks about the finger painting scene again. Oh God, not those awful finger paintings. And where Billy goes, something Picasso, he won't amount to anything. He won't trust me. And Kate says, ignores him, goes, put the Degas in the bedroom. And Goldman wrote, can you come up with another single scene with that many howlers? I can't. Not since the days of Joan Crawford. So ever since I read that, every time that scene's out, I'm laughing about how bad it is. It's bad. It's a What's Age the Worst, where they're just like, hey, we need 3 minutes here to show that these people are douchey rich people.
And that is the one thing about the movie that the movie does not at all deal in any subtlety.
No.
The boat has to sink, right?
Yeah.
The boat has to sink. That's not subtle. Hit you over the head with that. The characters are the exact same way. And when he's like literally Cal is wrong about everything.
Yeah.
Like everything.
Even giving the guy money to get off the boat. Throws the money back at him. Which I should have What's Age the Best. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, Cal is wrong about everything.
Any other What's Age the Worst for you?
Nah, not really.
Okay. Casting what ifs. Johnny Depp said a couple years ago to Howard Stern that he turned down the role of Jack because he simply didn't like the script. He said he labored to get through it. Who knows? James Cameron, it seems like he wanted Jared Leto to play Jack, or at least like he was the favorite, but Jared Leto wouldn't audition. Supposedly wanted Claire Danes to play Rose. Who knows? Auditioned Jeremy Sisto multiple times. Like that guy.
Damn, I love Sisto.
Sisto never found the right part.
Sisto never got the right thing.
Stock. I always was in on him. He was in a good kidnap show once on NBC.
Yeah, Sisto. See, I hate hearing shit like that. I've always liked him.
We like you, Sisto. Billy Crudup was considered strongly, but he couldn't get out of Without Limits. And
Steve Prefontaine movie?
Yeah, good one.
Yeah, I like that.
So then apparently Leo crushed it. And then when Winslet screen tested with him, she whispered to Cameron, he's great. Even if you don't pick me, pick him. She had to really lobby for it. There's a lot of stuff on the internet about her sending Cameron notes, all kinds of things. She really wanted the part. There was, I couldn't even tell from the research who was actually involved, but it was like it was Gwyneth Paltrow, Winona Ryder. I don't know how close. Gwyneth Paltrow, I think made sense and would have been a decent Rose. I think she would have done a good job. I think it's a slightly different movie, but I think she would have been good. I still think Winslet was the best one.
Too refined. There's something too regal about Gwyneth Paltrow, in my opinion. She's like, like a swan. Like you needed somebody who could be
drink down on the bottom, with the boat guys. Yeah, that makes sense. Because she basically plays this person in Talented Mr. Ripley, right? She's Marge, same kind of character,
but with a totally different sort of you know what I mean.
The Billy Zane part was offered to Matthew McConaughey, who turned it down.
Yeah, no way. No way. Yeah, that would have been a fucking horrible thing for him to do at that point in his career. Yeah. He was just becoming the guy that everybody loved.
Cameron, there's stuff that he was also offered Jack, but I don't think that's true. Cameron wanted Enya to do the music for the movie and ended up settling on this Celine Dion. Then this one blew my mind. Robert De Niro was supposed to be Captain Smith. Offered the role, he had to turn it down because he had a gastrointestinal infection at the time. If you look at De Niro's IMDb, he's making like 3-4 movies a year during this stretch. He was definitely in his, how much?
Right.
Instead of a check, can you just give me all cash? He's just grabbing checks. So he easily could have been the captain, which I think would have been a fun wrinkle. So there you go. Best that guy, aka the Joey Pants Award. So the guy, the James Bond bad guy that works for Billy Zane.
Oh, yeah. What is he from? I recognize him.
He's one of those guys. His name's David Warner. He's been in a million things. So he's a nominee. The other one who I think should be the winner, and you called it out earlier, the mom, who was the evil lady in Terminator 2, or not evil, but the Terminator took over and she stabbed her. That lady, because you see her and you're like, Terminator 2 lady. And I have no idea what her name is. So I think she's the winner.
Terminator 2 lady, that she was also in, remember we did Lethal Weapon 2. She's in that one. She was just popping up around that time.
She's got like a dangerous face. There's something like you don't want to, has like a look to her that you could see her going dark. Vincent Hanna, Give Me All You Got award for overacting. I mean, basically, most of the Billy Zane scenes are dialed up. It has to be in there. Dion Waiters award, I'll give you two choices. Kathy Bates, who I think might have been in this too much, or the band.
Oh, the band I didn't think of I had Kathy Bates all day for this.
So if Kathy Bates isn't eligible, it's the band.
It's the band.
The band crushes that scene. Everyone's hitting threes. It's great. Right look in their face. Recasting couch. Just going to throw this at you. I know Billy Zane's your guy.
Uh-huh.
What if I give you Matt Damon, 1997 Matt Damon in that part? And it's School Ties Matt Damon.
I was just about to say, that's the only reason why.
It's School Ties Matt Damon in that part.
Okay, so School Ties Matt Damon, all-time bastard, top 5, horrible son of a bitch, right? All time. Let me tell you, I think that School Ties Matt, the reason why I think Billy Zane works is because he almost looks like a dark, evil version. School Ties Matt Damon is a little too close to Leo. Like Leo's better looking, but like they look kind of the same.
Charisma,
yeah. Like Cal Hockley looks like a East Coast shithead, tall, dark haired. Like he looks like he was on the fucking polo team and all of that stuff. So I don't think that works as well. But you know who would work?
Who?
Ben.
So I had him next.
Yeah.
I was going to give you Affleck and I was going to give you Brendan Fraser.
Oh, Brendan Fraser, nice guy though. Very nice guy. I don't know if he can play evil, but like Brendan
Affleck. Young Affleck, I think, could have worked too.
Ben works perfectly.
He's tall. There would have been a size difference with him and Leo.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Half-assed internet research. Movie versus real life. Jack and Rose, fictional. Supporting characters, mostly accurate. The Titanic footage, that's real. Cameron went down 12 times with the crew, shot the footage, became obsessed with it. They didn't know until after the movie was made that there was a J. Dawson gravestone.
I saw this.
Yeah. Dawson was a made-up name, and there was actually a guy who died on the boat named Dawson.
Right.
Conflicting reports with Captain Smith, whether he died with the boat or froze to death in the water. Nobody knows for sure. They didn't really have Adrian Wojnarowski back then breaking news. Captain Smith now dead in the water. The third-class passengers being barricaded against their will below the deck so they couldn't get to the lifeboats. There's basically no evidence to support this. Might have been a movie thing. Near the end, the band played ragtag music, not the poignant music. This is true. We are on the boat for 2 hours and 40 minutes in this movie, which is the exact amount of time from when it hit the iceberg to when it sank, which Cameron did intentionally because he's a fucking lunatic. 240 each way. Intentional. One crucial fact he chose to omit from the film. The SS Californian was very close to the Titanic the night it sank, but it turned its radio off for the night, did not hear the SOS calls.
They should have had that in there.
Seems like it. It's 3 hours and 15 minutes. Pretty sure we could have used 20 seconds of the other boat that you could kind of see. So Cameron did 12.
That fucking sucks.
Yeah, Cameron did 12 dives. He somehow spent more time with the ship than its living passengers. The stairway water scene, they had one chance to film it when all the water comes in and it hits the...
Oh, yeah, okay.
They had one chance. If they fucked it up, that was it. They would have had to cut it. Leo is so bad at drawing that they had to get him a stunt artist who is James Cameron. The film ran so long in movie theaters that Paramount Pictures had to send replacement reels to the movie theaters because they were getting worn out from being run. Nobody on the crew liked James Cameron, which is a running thing with him. But they said that he had an evil alter ego and they nicknamed him Midge, which was Jim backward, and made Midge t-shirts. The boat cost $150 million. 130-day shoot. Yeah, the boat. $150 million. 138-day shoot. By the $150 million includes the water tank, like
the water tank, all of it,
all that stuff. Yeah.
All right.
138-day shoot turned into 160. Cameron's code name for the movie was Planet Ice. Winslet didn't wear a wetsuit. Now, in some of the research, she didn't want to. Other research, they didn't want her to have it because of what she was wearing. But she got pneumonia and a kidney infection, almost quit the movie. A lot of people got sick from this.
Do you guys have any idea what a 160-day shoot is? 160 days?
That's longer than a football season.
That's 160 days. Like, I know that they don't have to all be there all the time, but somebody does. Like, that's nuts.
Everybody, all the researchers, everybody was miserable. Even Leo, who seems like the happiest guy ever, even he was miserable. 150 actors played the ship's passenger and crew. Here's what a lunatic Cameron was. He met all of the extras and gave them backstories for their characters. Names, where they were from. Each person went through, met them, walked them through it. And then the $2.2 million necklace was auctioned off to benefit Princess Diana's charity after she died.
What $2.2 million necklace?
The actual necklace used in this movie, which was $2.2 million. It was auctioned off.
Wait, the necklace was real?
The necklace was real.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Okay, Apex Mountain. I think it has to be yes for Leo.
Really?
He's the biggest star in the world after this movie. I don't see how this isn't. You could argue the other choice would be 06, where he's Blood Diamond and The Departed in the same year and kind of becomes the guy officially. But did he ever have more juice than he had after Titanic when he becomes the biggest star in the world? Like, what movie is he not making?
You know what the only problem with making this his Apex Mountain is? I don't think that when you say Leonardo DiCaprio right now that people go, the guy from Titanic.
Like, think how amazing that is. Because we thought he was going to, we thought that's who he was going to be.
Yeah. So
after the movie was so big, it felt like it was going to swallow him up.
I would just have if you're saying Apex Mountain, that means
give me a better Apex Mountain.
Probably The Departed.
So that was, we said in 06, that's the other candidate. Those two moved, Blood Diamond, Departed at the same time.
I would probably say The Departed. I would probably say The Departed.
Winslet, probably not. I feel like mid-2000s when she has that run when
she was popping with...
she became like, she's becoming the new Meryl Streep at some point there in the mid-2000s. And
does she do The Reader?
Wins an Oscar in 2008. Yeah, The Reader.
Yeah.
She's in a whole bunch of good ones. James Cameron has to be yes.
Yeah, although he did beat this.
I get it, but this is, you're not like critical success, financial success.
Yeah.
The movies becomes Gone with the Wind.
Right.
You're not top of that. Billy Zane, yes. Characters named Fabrizio. I'm going to give you this, or I'm going to give you Godfather 1, the guy who blew up Apollonia's car and left Michael Corleone a window. I'm going with that guy.
That
More famous Fabrizio.
Right.
Expensive bad buzz movies. I think this beats The Godfather.
It would have to. And it hasn't been done since that I can remember. I think about movies. They were
not like this.
Not like this, yeah.
Heroes from Wisconsin.
Give me another one.
I don't know. I'm going with Jack.
Okay.
Icebergs, yes. Picasso, probably not. Disaster movies, yes.
Disaster movies for sure. Oh, there's been some great disaster movies, but this is the best one of them all.
Yeah. Picking Nits. We already talked about Kathy Bates' character, the unsinkable Molly Brown.
True.
She's happily lending Jack a tuxedo. This guy from the bottom of the boat that is hanging out with. Him. Okay.
She gets him. Molly Brown wasn't born into money. She gets him.
Tuxedo fits perfectly.
That's a problem in every movie. They always go, "Hey, you're just about my son's size." Like you're just about my husband's size. That's not how sizes work.
The party below deck. So all these people are hanging out. Here's what apparently the poor people do in 1912.
Sure.
Square dancing, arm wrestling.
Yeah.
And they drink dark pints of beer.
Guinness.
And it's a lot of it's just like that loud, and that's it. That's all they do. So 1912. This is it. That's a party in 1912.
But this is my thing about that. I always just buy it. Like, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yeah.
However the white people in Europe are partying, we just go, okay, cool. We don't know what you guys do. You guys.
So basically, they could be doing anything, you'd believe it.
Anything. Like literally anything.
So if they're playing Scrabble, would you have believed that?
It's some facsimile of Scrabble. Not if they had current Scrabble things, but I'd be like, yeah, it seems like some shit they do in Ireland.
What about Boo-Ray?
Oh, Boo-Ray.
I would have played Boo-Ray.
Boo-Ray.
Are they playing Boo-Ray?
Are they playing Boo-Ray?
More nitpicks. Rose's family has no money, but it's a secret?
Yeah, that's a tough one because I was wondering about that as I watched the movie. It's like, your father left us with a good name and all of these debts. And then she says, do you want all of our fine things sold at auction? I was like, well, if you don't have any money, why do you still have your fine things? Like, how are you paying for stuff like right now? I guess it could happen, but I don't know.
Also, this is Philadelphia elite. They mentioned this is a big Philadelphia socialite scene.
Yeah, Philly.
It made me laugh, the thought of like the Philadelphia socialite scene, because the Philadelphia we know is the fans that boo Santa Claus and are just get aggro about their sports teams. It's funny to think like Rose was from Philly. I was thinking about her like getting mad about like did the Phillies exist in 1912?
Fuck James Harden. Yeah. You know, just throwing stuff at him. They might have, yeah. I'm sure they were around like this old ass.
So are we sure Rose and Jack couldn't have both fit on that floating thing? They gave it one attempt.
I think they could have. Now,
felt like they didn't really give that enough of a run. I needed like a 3-minute sequence of them trying to fit on the raft.
Well, see, this is my situation with Jack. It's like, if you're Jack, don't you every couple of minutes keep trying to get back on it? You know what I mean? If Jack, if you stay in the water, he knows better than anyone. He said it. If you stay in the water, you're a goner. But don't you have to keep trying to get back on the thing? I don't know.
It seems like his feeling was, I just had like the best date of my life. It ended a little badly here. I'm going to freeze to death in the ocean, but I think I'm good.
Yeah. I mean, he went out on top.
Yeah. Great one. Got to have sex in a car. Painted somebody. Are we sure Rose would have found a handcuffed Jack on the 5th story of the boat? Because this one guy's like, yeah, you go down 2 staircases. It's left, right, and you'll find them. It's tough. That's a tough one.
That whole sequence, right? That whole sequence, when on my rewatch, I'm looking at it and I'm like, it bothered me because they got lucky so many times just for Jack to die.
Yeah.
at the end. They got lucky, not only that she found him, they got lucky that she was able to take an axe and break his chains. Like on some Django shit. Like it's like she, like they got the whole thing was lucky. I couldn't remember what the guy told her. And then she just gets down there and starts screaming for him. Then she finds an axe. What if she don't find an axe, Bill? It's an axe hanging out there. It's an axe.
Do you think you could have swung the axe and hit the handcuffs?
Fuck no.
Yeah, I think
in 3 feet of water.
Way harder. Yeah, I think that's way harder. So Rose mentions this one Picasso painting that we know exists. It's called like Demal Devon, something like that.
All right.
The painting went down with the ship, but it still exists now?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Sorry. That's why I'm here. Any other nitpicks?
No. No. Oh, there's one other nitpick. So Jack, they won their tickets like in a hand of poker.
Yep.
They were broke.
Yeah. What did they put up for stake?
What did they put up
game?
versus the tickets? I know there's money there, right?
Seems like some sex trafficking, possibly.
So it seems like, yeah. I was like, what did they say? They ain't got no bread. So like, how are they with the whole deal? You know, whatever, that part.
That's a great call. Really good job by you just there. On the one hand, this ticket on this boat, this unbelievable boat, the talk of the world.
Right.
And Jack's like, I have $2.
$2 to travel to America on the Titanic. By the way, those guys' friends were expecting them. Because remember when they get on the, so it's like what is, like, I'm looking at Jack, it's like, hey, I want to play some poker. Like, put up your tickets to the Titanic because you're leaving.
I don't think James Cameron understood poker. Like, we needed 20 seconds of Jack being like, this is my watch. It's the only thing I own.
Right.
My grandmother gave me this watch.
Right. It's a trip to America.
One thing I have. But yeah, we need that. Could this be remade as a 10-episode Netflix show as our next category? I mean, yes.
Uh-huh.
It's one of those things where I was like, no, they can't do that. The movie's lives on. People are still watching it. Movie's never going to die. On the other hand, I was like, Titanic show. I don't know. I actually, would we cover that on The Ringer if it was good? Yeah.
Of course. You know what's crazy is when I searched it to like watch it to, on Apple TV, they did something. They did like a Nev Campbell, fucking Mr. Big from Sex and the City.
Oh no.
New Titanic
canceled
movie
Titanic
or show in like 2012.
Jesus.
Or something like that. So they I guess they've tried it. Of course they could bring it back, but this is the defining Titanic fucking movie piece of art of all time.
Yeah, we need more time with this before we do a TV show. Probably unanswerable questions. So Cameron said, was Rose still alive and dreaming of Jack, or did Rose die? Cameron does the whole, hey, it's whatever you want it to be. That's his official word on it. He will not say Rose died. What kind of oh boy, Craig, you have to turn the camera on, I think, for this one. Rose throws her hand up on the window, right?
Right.
What kind of sex position were they in at that point?
Very clearly, woman on top, because they're in a seat.
Well,
right.
It finished, but they finish, and he's on top of her, and they're on the seat. But when we see that, it's like the hand goes up, but it's like she's falling back, and so if she's on top of him, but it's like this small car, he's got to be sitting too.
Yeah, right.
So you should see the back of his head with the hand. The hand just comes out of nowhere. It's like, it's just fucking random.
Right. Things happen to you. We've all been in the back of cars, especially, like, what is that, an old Studebaker or something? I don't know.
I want to see, that show where they, Mythbusters, when they reenact shit? I want to see them reenact the sex scene to see how the hand got up there. Let's put two people in and positions and just see if there's any scenario where her hand hits the window, but you don't see his head.
Bill,
because I think you have to see his head.
Bill, I think you just sold a show.
Sex Busters.
Yeah, I think you just sold a show. The Ringer in partnership with Playboy TV.
Is this movie the best argument ever that climate change maybe isn't the worst thing in the world?
You're not going to hit any icebergs.
Yeah, there's no icebergs in a world where everything is 110 degrees every day. There you go.
Fuck Trump, the polar bears,
Trump
right?
should have thought of that. How long do Jack and Kate stay together if they get off this boat together? Does she marry Jack?
I've literally never thought of this. Yeah, she does.
They figured out how to both. They marry Jack. That's it. They're in.
Yeah, they get married.
I think they do too. I'm with you. Last one. Leo turned down Boogie Nights to be in this movie. Good call or bad call? Lead in Boogie Nights? Dirk Diggler.
Fantastic call. That fantastic call. I'll tell you why. Number one, that's not a. This is gonna sound so stupid, and the Ringer fans are gonna kill me for this. That's a star-making role, but not in the way that this one is.
There's another scenario where that's a star-making role that then he gets to choose. We move into the Catch Me If You Can phase of his career immediately versus this weird 4-year stretch where it's like the beach and him just kind of figuring out how to do it being as famous as he is.
Right. Leo could have figured that role out, obviously, but like that role is like very, very, very Mark Wahlberg in that you need a guy who is a really, 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 really good actor, but actually knows
and a little viral. Too.
And a little viral. Like you need somebody that I don't think it works as well with Leonardo DiCaprio. I think it's better for Leo that he obviously took this one.
I think you're right. The first time I had Paul Thomas Anderson on my podcast, notice how I did the first time, how I dropped that there.
Right.
The first time I had PTA on, my guy, we asked him, me and Sean, about the Boogie Nights thing. And he was kind of like, it kind of worked out for the best.
Yeah.
Leo did Titanic. That was great for him. And Wahlberg probably was the better Dirk Diggler. I'm sure Leo could have figured out Dirk Diggler.
Oh, he could have figured it out. And I'll tell you one thing. I think that Dirk Diggler is Wahlberg's Apex Mountain.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Although he got nominated for The Departed, which was it with Leo. Everything comes full circle. I think Dirk Diggler says. I don't think it was for Leo.
What piece of memorabilia would you want from this movie that's not the necklace?
So I thought about this one as much as I thought about anything else. And do you know what I want? I want the nickel-plated 45 that Cal.
That's a great one.
That the Lovejoy guy had, and that he gave to Cal. That was a beautiful gun. Like I would want the nickel-plated 45 that Lovejoy had, or whatever it was. It might have been a 9, but I think it was a 45.
It's a great one. I would want the Titanic ticket that Leo wins in the poker game.
Oh, that's a good one too.
That would be a good one to like frame it, put it up there. Or I'd want the 8 frame photos of Rose that she put next to her bed as she slept with herself.
I want my personal things. No pictures of my granddaughter. Just all of this stuff.
Just me.
Yep.
Just me. Me and only me. Who won the movie?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
I agree. It's weird to say James Cameron didn't win the movie, but I think Leo wins the movie. He becomes the biggest star of the last 25 years. I think he has to win. Yeah. All right, before we go, we're going to bring in producer Craig because he's outraged by he called it Rose slander. I call it Rose facts. I don't know where you come up with the word slander when all we did was spit facts for 10 minutes. Go ahead, Craig.
I'm fired up. I turned on the mic for this, so it's not even my Zoom audio. So this is going to sound clear for people. You guys got through your obligatory praise of the movie, and then you got to what you really wanted. It's to shit on these mini character holes, which are baseless. It's senseless slander. So I've crafted a rebuttal for each of your Rose demerits.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay. Condemning her for cheating in air quotes. She cheats on the abusive, selfish, misogynist asshole of a fiance who she's practically been arranged to marry.
Fair.
I feel like that's all right.
Fair. Okay.
Fair. Yeah.
Her not immediately defending Jack after he saves her. Well, first of all, I feel like her whole life she's been told, stay quiet, be civilized, don't defend this kid. Also, maybe she couldn't think of a quick cover up on her toes of why she was attempting to commit suicide. She couldn't really think of an excuse real quick.
No, I don't. This one doesn't work as well. Yeah, she let Jack was about to be handcuffed and taken down to the fifth floor of the boat.
Hey. She couldn't think of an excuse. She's surrounded by her whole family. What is she going to do? Defend the poor boy?
Yeah. Craig, let me tell you something.
Yes, actually.
One day, me and you.
She just met him.
Craig, one day, me and you are going to go out on the town, right? And if it happens that I get handcuffed, you better not fucking wait 15 minutes for me with the
Craig's
police.
like, can I have a blanket?
Yeah, like for me with the pull. I need you to get. Hey, he was just like, help brother out, Craig.
Please defend your friends faster than she did. Okay, keep going.
All right, moving on. She doesn't see her husband in heaven. Jack is her true love. Jack tells her to have babies and live a long life, which she does. Sorry that the first person she sees in heaven is the guy she just talked about for the first time in 60 years. And then she immediately dies and sees him. Is that really a big problem?
Listen, Craig, you're getting married soon. I just hope for your sake, your wife sees you at the end.
Right.
So those are the stakes. We're talking about
it's about seeing your true love. And not
a guy that she was hanging out with at Senor Frogs, Panama City Beach, Florida, for 3 days, spring break.
Is horrible.
3 days, two.
It was 5.
2 days.
The Titanic sunk in 5 days.
No, she had 2 dates. She went to the bottom of the boat after dinner. And then the next day had the whole painting car sex date. That was it.
Okay.
Then the boat sank.
This is terrible. Moving on. Where are the photos of her family? Well, first of all, I went in and really looked at it. There is a photo of her, her husband, and her 2 children at the beach. It is on there. It is on the nightstand next to her. And also,
I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was looking at the 9 photos. I didn't realize there was one.
Well, here's the thing about the photos, Bill. They're all things that Jack told her to do. Ride a horse with a leg on either side of it in the Santa Monica Pier. She's living the life of adventure, traveling the world, living life to the fullest.
Aware of it.
Jack told her to do.
Aware of it. Is there nothing that her actual husband told her to do? What about their memories? So, I'm aware that all of those things.
He's in it. He's up there. There is a photo of him.
I'm aware. What I'm telling you is that I would like my wife to have some pieces of me up on the thing. That's all I'm saying.
Is Rose's husband in the afterlife looking down on that going, this is a W for me. I'm in one of the 9 photos, barely. Great stuff. Glad I devoted my life to this lady.
Last one, dropping the necklace. It's okay. I get it. Could she have donated it to charity? Sure. But like, what are we doing here? This is the movie. It's her finding closure. All right. It's her finally letting go of Jack. She hasn't talked about him in 60 years. This was the last piece of him. She lets it go and she goes and dies.
Point of fact here. If she's not going to have the necklace anymore, what difference does it make whether or not she drops it in the ocean or whether or not she gives it to Bill Paxton?
Yeah, what is it? Like she thinks Jack's going to get frozen. Jack's going to get the necklace.
Jack dead.
Who are you rooting? Who are you rooting for in National Treasure? Did you want the villains to find the treasure so they could exploit it and go buy a mansion? What did Bill Paxton want to do with that diamond necklace?
First of all, it doesn't matter. She doesn't have to give it to Bill Paxton. She could give it to...
Yeah, I get it. She could have donated it. I'm there for that. But that's
put it in the
a lame ending.
so that we can enjoy it. But Jack doesn't really have a dog in that fight. Like Jack is already gone, waiting for her in heaven, while her husband is somewhere on the third deck of the Titanic with all of the other people who don't get to hang out with Rose anymore. I'm telling you, bro.
Notice how Craig, he does this impassioned defense, doesn't mention the part where Rose killed Jack. Let him freeze to death in the water, so she could be nice and warm on the floating thing.
No, that's Jack being a gentleman. Maybe they did try it. Maybe he tried to get on the door. Couldn't fit.
Yeah, he tried one time. Look, this is
one time. Rose is like, "Get the fuck off this."
This is insane.
Never going to change my opinion of Rose. And there's other stuff.
Me neither. Van, you and I are united for life.
I'll let her slide on some shit. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'll let her. We talked about this months ago. I'll let her slide on some shit. There's other shit that I saw in this movie. I didn't even bring it up. But I'll let her slide. But that's okay. I feel you, Craig. You did it.
This is like the Russillo thing about how he hates Pam Beasley from The Office. This is the same thing.
Listen. When this podcast comes out, there's going to be more people on Van and I.
I'm on the right side of history here.
Side of my side than people realize. All right, that's it for the Rewatchables. That was producer Craig Horlbeck. Van Lathan, you can listen to him on Higher Learning and Ringerverse, and we will see you next week with another big one.